everyone. Thank you for joining us at the webinar on Mastering Model Content Requirements through Revit and Archicad Interoperability Tools. I'm Ying from Digitalisation Department at BCA. For my presentation, I will share the background of MCR development, the goal of this initiative, and demonstrate how to use MCR pivot table effectively. I will introduce the MCR covering following key areas. I will discuss the current challenge encountered by the industry and the reason to lead to MCR development. I will explain what MCR contains, who are the originator, and how MCR is organized. I will brief on the current progress of MCR adoptions across different sectors. And finally, I will introduce the automated tools developed for property creation, data population, and data validation along with the potential benefits. Model content requirements or MCR is developed because there's a lack of standardized information requirement for BIM projects. This resulted in various versions of project deliverables, leading to misunderstandings and errors in information production. MCR aims to address this issue by establishing clear definition and eliminating discrepancies for model objects and properties. The goal of MCR is to allow industry practitioners to prepare model based on a standard set of requirements and refer to the same coordinated BIM model as a single source for truth. MCR is part of client's contractual requirement. Consultant and contractor should refer to MCR and fill in the data information accordingly. MCR outlines information requirements across project stages. It aims to ensure data consistency and clarity throughout the project lifecycle. MCR will be eventually harmonized with FCSG to facilitate the call and exit submission. We understand that different development typology will expect different deliverables. It's impossible to have one set of requirements to suit all the projects. Therefore, we have been working with 5 major clients to create MCR, which incorporates the information requirement for 5 project typology. We collaborated with JTC, MOHH, HDB, and Land Lease and OTA to develop MCR for industrial, healthcare, public residential, commercial, and infrastructure road and rail projects. MCR is in Excel pivot table formats, and this is a screenshot of MCR. The column on the left here lists all the required BIM objects and properties. Column on the right here, highlighted in red color, indicates the information requirement across project stages. So letter Y means yes, mandatory, O means optional, blank means this property are not required to fill in for this particular stage. You can see that the information is actually built up progressively. So at the early stage, like conceptual schematic design stage, less information is required. When they move on to the tender construction stage, more information is required. Besides that, we also have 4 filters to filter the information requirements according to typology, FCSG database, discipline, MEP system, and yeah, that's all. So I will demonstrate how to use these functions when I show the pivot table. This slide explains the examples how to fill in the information according to MCR requirements. So the table on the left is quoted from MCR pivot table. The tables on the right is how the project teams fill in the information according to MCR. So for example, for the ceiling, for schematic design stage, Y indicator for area classification and so on. And when you look at the tables on the right, project teams fill in 200 square meters classification code and other informations accordingly. And for construction and fabrication stage, most of the information are required. Therefore, the project team fill in all this information for this particular stage. MCR has been successfully rolled out last year and implemented in several projects. MCR for industrial typology and healthcare typology has been implemented in multiple respective projects. MCR for public residential typology has been incorporated in HDB Bin Guide 3.0 and will be adopted in all HDB new projects. The MCR for commercial typology will be implemented in all and these new projects, and it also has been shared with other private developers. MCR for infrastructure, road, and rail project will be implementing in LTA projects. We will continue to review MCR based on the feedback from the adoptions and pilot project to ensure it remains relevant and effective. In response to industry's feedback, we have been working with Autodesk and Graphisoft to develop interoperability tools to facilitate MCR incorporation and automate MCR workflow. To automate the file setting up, instead of creating property one by one, the standard setup template has been developed for Revit and Archicad for commercial typology and public residential typology. To speed up the data entering process, the tools are also being developed for this tool software to populate data directly from external Excel file, which significantly accelerates the data population. After the value of the property has been entered, validation tools are also developed to check whether the required property has been created correctly and whether the information has been filled in properly. This will remove the manual checking by the clients or consultants. John and Vimal will explain these tools in details in a subsequent presentation. MCR intends to be a new process to facilitate data development and use BIM for upfront collaboration and downstream execution. As mentioned, the MCR setup template developed can reduce the manual effort and save the setup time from a few days to a few hours. MCR stipulates information based on the project stages, which can save upfront data production efforts up to 30%. MCR can help BIM authors across the value chain to have a better understanding of the data and prevent reworks due to missing data. MCR also specifies asset information requirements, which can be used for asset management, for example, equipment maintenance planning, rental analysis, and so on. Now I will demonstrate how to use MCR Excel pivot table. Okay, this is MCR pivot table. So you may refer to this MCR by project typology here. So the column on the left here lists all the required MCR BIM objects and properties. So you can see all the objects and properties here. And this object is also sorted according to category. So if you check here, you can collapse everything under the accessories and routing, and you can easily find the information you're looking for. For columns from the conceptual design to O&M stage, here indicates information requirement across project type stages. So Y means yes, mandatory, O means optional, blank means it's not required. So for example, for bulk water meter, the element location is required to be filled in at detailed design stage. And for other properties, for example, warranties and warranty description, the information will need to be filled in only at the construction stage. So after the information are filled in according to stage, the validation tools will also check the data entered based on stage requirement. So when the clients and consultants receive models from different stage, then they can also use the validation tool to check and save the manual process, the manual checking process. Besides that, we also have 4 filters here. So if you're working on, so first one is the typology. If you are working on commercial typology, the pivot table will show you all the information relevant to commercial typology. If you are working on public residential typology, for example, you click public residential here and say OK. And the pivot table will show you all the information relevant to public residential typology. So this filter is very useful. It helps to consolidate all the information for all the typologies into one table, and you can easily search the information you are working on. And the next filter is FCSG. So MCR actually incorporated data for FCSG and also data for project delivery. So once you check the FCSG box here, you will be able to see the FCSG requirement. The information requirement by project stages for FCSG is under development, and eventually MCR will be harmonized with FCSG. The next filter is the discipline. So all the MCR information has been sorted according to 5 disciplines: architectural, CNS, M&E, and so on. So if you say you're working on only architectural scope of work, then you just check architecture. And you'll be able to see that ceiling, doors, floors, and all these are relevant to architectural works. This filter is very helpful for the consultants or contractors working on specific discipline. So you can easily search the information relevant to a scope of work and don't need to go through all other people's requirement to find yours. Let's just turn all the requirements on. The last filter is MEP system. So all the MEP related requirements are sorted according to the systems. So for example, if your supplier is working on like fire protection systems, you just have to show the fire protection systems here. And all the requirements relevant to fire protection will come up here. Yeah, so these filters will be very helpful for you when you are searching for the information for MCR. Okay, and besides that, we also have one tab here on MEP technical attributes. This table is only relevant to MEP consultants working on automated MEP design and automated MEP calculation. And if you're MEP consultants, you can refer to this table for the objects and properties. And for most of us who are not working on this area, you can just refer to this MCR by project typology. Yep, that's all for MCR pivot table. And now I will hand over to Vanessa to explain IDES and how it can be used to support an MCR implementation. Thank you.
Of an MCR can be captured within the IDS. So you can use the IDS to check if the BIM model has information based on the MCR. So you can use the IDS to write your requirements on, down to the details, down to things like the use of properties, including quantities and attributes, the materials, the classifications, the entity types, and object dependency. At this moment in time, the IDS does not have the capability to define the details of a geometry, but it can be used in combination with automated checking tools, which you will see as a part of the presentation by our final speaker, Vimal Kumar, in which he demonstrates the workflow for using an IDS file in Solibri to automate model checks. Now, being a machine-readable format, the IDS enables the quick and automatic verification of IFC files. You can use it to automatically check and verify if your IFC file matches the requirements that were set in the IDS file, and that can help you to greatly improve the quality of your BIM models. In the context of the complete open BIM workflow, the information delivery specification serves as a tool for you to specify your requirements and check it automatically. That ability to link the requirement and enforcement together is the key to ensure that you receive good quality information deliverables. Now, let me draw an analogy here, just something that we all face in our everyday life, just to make that link quite clear. Let's say I put up a sign somewhere along a road that says, "Do not park here." But everyone knows that this requirement never ever gets enforced. I mean, I know it doesn't happen in Singapore, but let's just pretend, okay? So if people know that this requirement of "do not park here" never ever gets enforced, eventually somebody is going to park in that spot. And that's why we have parking enforcement officials to check and ensure that the requirement gets followed. Now, the thing is that allowing a computer to automatically support you in this task is sort of like having a saman auntie stand there 24/7, like all the time, right? Because you now have the ability to allow a machine to check this for you. So that's what the IDS does. It works with other buildingSMART tools, such as the buildingSMART Data Dictionary, the BSDD, and also the BIM collaboration format, the BCF, what you see on the screen now, within the overall OpenBIM workflow. The BSDD and the BCF complement the IDS by providing the necessary tools for standardizing and managing information. While the IDS specifies what information needs to be delivered, information authors or your BIM modelers that are creating these BIM models can use the BSDD to ensure that this information is standardized. When we are checking the model and find an issue that needs work, the BCF will help us to communicate that and work towards the resolution of issues related to this information. So here's an illustration of the workflow. Let's say, you're on the client, the employer project team, and you are creating an IDS, right? And you send this IDS to a BIM modeler who is creating this information model. And that allows the BIM modeler to verify the software capabilities, whether it's able to deliver, and also to then, when creating this information, to use the requirements that you have specified in the IDS. And then they would also use the BSDD to enrich the BIM model with properties, data classification, so on and so forth, right? And on the spot, the BIM modeler is also able to validate the data against the IDS. Now, if, right, everything is all good, it follows all the rules specified in IDS, then you can export it into an IFC file, what you see in the green box. And if there are some issues, then you can export a BCF file communicating what the issues are. Thereafter, if it's all fixed, you send it back to the client that will then validate the information that you send against the IDS. So in a nutshell, this is the workflow of how the IDS can work with the buildingSMART Data Dictionary as well as the BIM collaboration format. So if you are in charge of specifying information requirements for your project, what I ask now as a representative of buildingSMART Singapore is that I encourage you to reach out to us at buildingSMART and allow us to support you in developing an IDS file to share your information requirements. Why are we asking for this? It's because we want to work together with you to build a library of IDS files that can be freely used by everyone who needs it to ensure that good information quality in their models. Because what we think is that, we should enable people to be able to achieve good information quality in their models and make that path, remove the obstacles in it. And IDS is just one way for us to achieve that. So if you could work together with us, to develop your IDS files, or perhaps if you're developing it on your own, if you could share it with us, we can then use that to increase the use of IDS within our industry to specify requirements and check that they are met. It also allows the community to build a large enough library so that users can eventually mix and match their IDS requirements to customize a certain IDS files for their information requirements. Now, I hope that has helped you to understand the impact of the MCR on the buildingSMART community. I'm the Secretary of buildingSMART Singapore and also a Director at AcePLP. I'm Vanessa. I will now hand over the time to my fellow presenter, John Rivas, representing Autodesk. John, over to you.
Thanks, Vanessa. So now that you've heard about the MCR template from Ying, so now we are actually going to talk about how you can interpret this with the design tools that you're using. And one of those tools that you can leverage on is Autodesk Revit. So just a quick agenda of what I'm going to cover today is regarding the tools that you can actually leverage on. And then afterwards is how you can actually use those tools to follow a certain process or guidelines on how you can set it up for your projects, how you can fill that information, and then finally you can do it for checking purposes, all within the Revit interface. So regarding the tools that I'm going to talk about today, and some of those are actually outside of the interoperability tools as well. So interoperability tools is a suite of different tools that allows you to standardize and validate information with your Revit model. And this is slowly being established to other platforms as well, like Civil 3D as a start. So if let's say you don't have this interoperability tools because by default, this is not installed with the Revit application, you can actually download it directly from manage.autodesk.com. So when you go to manage.autodesk.com, you can find it under the extensions tab, and this is where you can find the interoperability tools plugin. So as I've said, this is available between Civil 3D for infrastructure projects and Revit for building projects. So when we talk about MCR property and the value population, there's a stages that you can follow within the Revit application. First is how you can populate the Excel spreadsheet that was shown earlier on, how you can actually bring it to your project. Then the next step is how you can populate the data. And then the third step is to validate if, let's say, the data has missing information or whatnot. So first, let's talk about the MCR template on how we can populate the parameters into your project inside of Revit. So within the Revit application, there are a series of different methods that are available, not only limited to the interoperability tools, but also some of the out-of-the-box capabilities within Revit. So I've put a tabulation here about the different methods, which I'm going to showcase in a brief moment, about how you can perform like copy and pasting schedules into by using a warehouse file. So this is a option where you can utilize it locally, and then this is a manual configuration using that warehouse file. Then the next step that I'm going to share with you is using the parameter service. So this is actually using cloud as a workflow, and this is a semi-configuration because you have to select what type of parameters that you're going to use for your project. Then followed by which the shared parameter tools, which is available in the interoperability tools. So this is also another configuration that is set up can be set up manually locally in your project. And this is a one-step approach, one-click approach where you can just populate the data in one shot. Then finally, we also have options like Dynamo, where for our advanced Revit users, this can be done locally within your organization, and you can do full automation on populating that parameters inside of Revit. So after the webinar today, the scripts that we'll be showcasing to you will be made available in the BCA website as well. So we'll pass it on and then you can download these scripts so that if you want to configure it, you can also customize it into your own convenience. So for the first demonstration in terms of the warehouse file, this would be using the Revit application where there is a separate warehouse file that you can download from the BCA website where you can just simply copy and paste it from one project to another. So to demonstrate that, so I'm going to showcase to you the Revit application here. So in the BCA website, you can download this Revit warehouse file where it contains all the different schedules that contains properties related to rooms, spaces, doors, floors, and etc. Right? So, so the step here is that if you want to populate the parameters based on a schedule, all you have to do is to download this Revit warehouse file, open it locally in your machine. And then if you have a separate project that I have over here, so let's say this is the source project, and then this is the target project. So what I can do here is that once I go to that warehouse file, I can just simply do a copy and paste. So for example, I select the schedule that I want. The schedule that I want here already has the list of parameters that is required, let's say for a door. And once you have done that, all you have to do is to simply select the schedule, do a copy to clipboard. So this is our source file. And then when you go to up to my target project here where there's no schedule that has been outlined yet. So what I can do is I can just simply do a paste from clipboard. So as I click that, it will automatically populate those parameters and schedules into the target Revit project. So going back, this is a manual approach and it's an easy configuration because you just need to get the target parameters from a source file. The next option is using the parameter service. The parameter service is one of the features that we have implemented starting on Revit 2023 onwards. So what it does, it allows you to create a library of parameters that will be stored in Autodesk Construction Cloud or BIM 360. So for our users out there that are leveraging on Autodesk Construction Cloud, you can standardize all your parameters in various projects. And MCR could be one of those uh, uh, a library or collection of parameters that you would like to apply to your projects. So there are three configurations that you can utilize where you can upload your shared parameter files. You can use it from an active Revit project, or you can also create manually. So to showcase that to you on how to leverage the parameter service, so when you go to the Manage tab inside of Revit, as you create new project parameters, there's an option for you to access that via the parameter service. So over here, this showcase to you all the different set of collections that you would need or require to your project. So as in comparison to the warehouse file that I've shown you earlier on, all the parameters that you would require for your project is just a simple selection of all the parameters that I would require for my project and then confirm that. And then once I wanted to add this into my project, I can still do additional configuration, whether the parameter will be from a type level or instance, or whether I want to group it in a certain parameter group. So as I click that, add to Revit model, so those parameters are all added in one shot. So that is for parameter service. Then the third method is using the shared parameter tool. So this is where one of the tools that we have in the interoperability tools that allows you to configure your shared parameter file into an XML configuration. So and that XML configuration can reside locally in your machine, or it could be on a server. So to give you a demonstration of that, so I'll play a video here. So using the shared parameter tool under the interoperability tools, so all you have to do is to configure that XML file. And then from there, using this will allow you to populate those parameters in one click. So again, it gives you the flexibility of what type of parameters that would be used for various stages of the construction project. So moving on for the last option, we also have Autodesk Dynamo, which is a visual programming environment that allows Revit users to automate repetitive tasks inside of Revit. So one particular use case, if let's say that Excel file that was shown earlier can be configured in such a way that Dynamo can pick that information. So you can populate all the parameters that is generated from Excel and then populate it inside of the Revit application in one shot. So one of the examples that we'll be sharing to the industry is an example of a Dynamo script. So this one is developed through Python. So the option here is that all you have to do is to configure your Excel configuration to select what type of parameters that you would need to be populated into Revit. And then all you have to do is to simply press run in your script, right? So if you, of course, for some of our Dynamo users here, if you're familiar on how to leverage on Dynamo and Python, you can also configure it for other projects as well. So with this option, with just one click, or you can use the Dynamo player to play the script for you, it will automatically read the Excel information and then from there, bringing it into your Revit projects. So currently, right now, in terms of parameter population, there are four options that I can share with you that will help speed up the process by applying the MCR parameters. So let's change gears and shift gears and talk about how we can populate data using Revit. And one of the tools that we have also for Revit is the usage of Autodesk Dynamo as well. So I'll just explain the steps here. So I provided also three scripts. One is to create a schedule based on a parameter group. And then second is that you can actually populate that information into Excel, fill that information in Excel, and then populate it back into your Revit project. So this workflow is similar to what we have provided also for IFCSG. So the intent here is that if, let's say, if you have specific set of parameters that you would like to export out, basically generate it into an Excel. So the first script that you can run is by collecting what type of Revit categories that you would like to generate as a schedule. So after you have created that schedule, we have provided a second script that allows you to export that data into Excel. And this is where you can perform your data entry using an Excel file. So with Excel, you can do copy and paste. You can create like formulas to help you fill in the parameters more faster or more efficiently. So the intent here is that once you export it out in a schedule, our key identifier here is the element IDs of the Revit elements. So once you have done that, what you can do here is that you can just simply fill in the information that is required. And then once you have filled that information with all the tabs that are available here, you can actually run the Dynamo script again to populate that information back into your Revit projects. So in this way, instead of manually keying in one by one, you can actually utilize like formulas or options in Excel that allows you to copy and paste faster. So once you have run that script, so this is the third step, this will automatically populate that information into your schedule, thus moving that information back to your Revit elements as well. So for the third step, we have the MCR model checking tool. So this is another option that is available in the interoperability tools. So we have the model checker. So with the model checker, you can validate your parameters using your desktop application, meaning you're running the checker locally within the Revit application. So you can use the Revit models or more to set a predefined data standard. So MCR can be one of those things. And then you can use those check sets. So there are check sets that are readily available in the BCA website that you can just download and then run it to your project. So there are 7 stages, and you can just simply run them based on the stage that where you are at currently. So what are those check sets does? So one is it checks whether the parameters already exist in your project. So for example, in this case, I have acoustic rating. It will check if the parameter exists into your element, like doors. And then the other parameters that will be checked, whether if the data is, there's data inside, or whether the data is insufficient information. So you can run those checks inside of the model checker. So to give you a quick brief. So all you have to do is once you have downloaded the XML files from the BCA website, all you have to do is to load that XML file inside of the model checker for Revit. And then from there, you can select or uncheck any parameters that you would like to run. So what happens here is that Revit will run locally. So this checks is going to be run locally in your machine. So it will perform a series of check whether there's a parameter that is already applied to a project. Like for example, in my previous statement. So if let's say if I have a door and it has fire rating, it will check whether there's a parameter there. And then the second check is that whether do they have any values at all. So with the model checker for Revit, you can, before you even submit back for any submission, you can actually perform these checks so that whether you can see if there's any missing information or parameters into your Revit model. So what we have launched recently is we also have the validation tool for docs. This one actually enables you to validate parameters using the cloud. So you can perform model checks based on the models that were uploaded in Autodesk Construction Cloud. So if you're using BIM 360 or Autodesk Construction Cloud, you can perform for validation checks directly via the cloud. So it allows you to perform model checks concurrently instead of running it locally in your machine. So just to give you a benchmark test that we have done. So this is an example that so all you have to do is to upload that XML file into the Autodesk validation tool. So in this benchmark testing, right? So we have tested it based on a 800 megabyte model, and that takes about 20 minutes to check locally in your desktop, and then it disables the use of the Revit application. But if you're using the validation tool, you can actually do more. So in that specific time of 20 minutes, right? So you can actually test about 25 gigabytes of file size. So which is a model ranging from 500 megabytes to a few gigabytes as well. So with the desktop, if you perform a calculation, you can actually perform like 40 megabyte per minute check speed. And then if you're using the validation tool, it's about 920 megabyte per minute check speed as well. So if let's say if you're interested to deploy this validation tool for docs, so first is you need to have access to the Autodesk Construction Cloud, where you have permissions to view, download, and upload and edit permissions, and you need to have you have the XML files that you can download from the BCA website. Second, you just need to enable this into your Autodesk Construction Cloud. So you just need to activate it. You may need to connect with your account admin for those who are using Autodesk Construction Cloud. Then the third step is that for the entitlements, basically for which can be found in manage.autodesk.com. So to summarize, we do have the different types of features that you can leverage on Revit. So for those who are our Revit users here, this is just a sample feature mapping about the different functions that are available. So you can pick and choose which option that you can leverage on when you're setting up the MCR template. So there are 4 options. For data population tools, you can actually use Dynamo if you want automation defined in your project. You can do the data population tools manually as well. Then the third step is when you're doing the model checking, you can use the model checker that is residing within Revit or using the validation tool, which can be run on the cloud. All right, so that's just a quick overview. So I'll hand it over to Vimal for his part.
Hello everyone. I hope everyone can see my screen. All right. Okay. So myself, Vimal from Graphisoft Singapore. I'm Customer Success Manager here. So today for this presentation, I'm going to show Archicad tools for model content requirements. And here is a quick agenda for the presentation for next 15 minutes. So I'll be showing Graphisoft ecosystem. Following that, I'll be showing how to set up your template for MCR requirements and how you can populate the data from different sources into the Archicad model for MCR requirements and also the model checking for MCR later. Okay, so without any further ado, let me just jump into the presentation. So let's start with the Graphisoft ecosystem for people who are new to Graphisoft. So here are our flagship products, Archicad, BIMX, and BIM Cloud. So with Archicad, which is being a BIM authoring tool, we have multidisciplinary modeling here. So we can do architectural, structural, and MEP modeling together with coordination and collaboration within Archicad itself. And we can perform one integrated model with Archicad, meaning all 3 disciplines can work on the same file. And to perform coordination, we have model comparison for both Archicad and also for IFC files. So if you have two different versions of the same Archicad project or 2 different versions of the same IFC, you can compare the changes between them. And if you find any issues, say for example, if you're performing collision detection or even model comparison, you can do issue management within Archicad itself with native tools. And we can also generate the structural analytical model based on certain rules from your structural BIM model that you have developed inside Archicad. Okay, and the next being BIMX, our visualization tool. We have hyperlinked models, meaning we have 3D and 2D hyperlinked, and you can embed 2D on 3D, and then you can view the models and you can access the content of your model. Say, for example, if you have information attached to the elements, you can access them from anywhere, from your mobile devices, or even from the laptop or from the cloud as well. Okay, and we also have virtual reality feature using the Google Cardboard. So you can turn on the visual reality mode on your mobile phone and then place your mobile phone inside the Google Cardboard, and then you can enjoy your model in the virtual reality. And it is also compatible with the latest Apple Vision Pro. You can load your model into the BIMX application inside Apple Vision Pro, and then you can view the model. And it is an ideal solution for ICE coordination or ICE discussion, integrated concurrent engineering. So you can carry this anywhere, and then you can conduct your ICE discussion. And if you have any queries or anything, you can just straight away write messages back to the modelers from BIMX itself. Okay, so as I say, we have the built-in communication tool, which is supported by the BIM cloud, and we can also perform teamwork, meaning you can reside from anywhere around the world and then collaborate together to develop your project using BIM cloud. Okay, and we truly believe in open BIM interoperability. And today we are going to see one of the workflows that we have newly launched in our Archicad 28 version. Okay, so let me just go into the workflow for today. So we have MCR requirements in Excel format or as a CSV format, which we can convert using Python into an IDS file. Earlier during the presentation, Vanessa was showing what IDS is. Later, I'll be showing a bit about it as well. But when you convert the requirements into an IDS file, right, it will define all the requirements by the builders or by the agencies, which you can import it inside Archicad 28. And you can create your IFC file from there, and then in Solibri Office also you can import the same All right, sorry, the internet connection was a bit broken. So let me just repeat. After you export your model to IFC, you can import the IDS file into Solibri, and then Solibri will be able to perform the model checking. And then once the model checking is done, you will get the results. You can create issues inside Solibri, which can be exported as a BCF file, which is again a buildingSMART standard for handling issues. And then once the issues are out, you can just import it inside Archicad, and you can fix the problem that you have found out inside the Solibri model checker. And this process itself repeats for a few times as long as all issues that are defined or found using Solibri has been resolved. And then the next step is to submit your model for authority submission. It can be either an Archicad file or it can be even an IFC file. So with this IDS workflow, we are able to comply to both the native format for submission or also for IFC format for submission. Okay. So let me show you how the template of Archicad need to be set up. So for people who are already Archicad users, they have their own company template. So they can just import the IDS file that is listed on the BCA website for complying to the MCR requirements. But for people who are new to Archicad, they can go to this BIM e-submissions website by scanning the QR code here, and then they'll be able to find all the templates for all three disciplines together with the guides and libraries. So once they download it, they will be able to import the IDS file with Archicad 28 and then comply to the requirements. Okay, so before going into the workflow itself, let us see what IDS is. But before that, let's see how the traditional information requirements have been handled so far. I think this topic was already touched by Vanessa, but just to let you guys know, earlier we all have the information format or table format or even in PDF formats. These are highly human readable, but it is very difficult for computers to interpret. Okay, and it is also error prone. Sorry. So you have to check against the BIM model, and it is all manual process. But when you go with this IDS workflow, this IDS information delivery specification is actually a standard developed by buildingSMART, and it lets you define all the requirements in XML file format, which is human readable and is also easy for computers to interpret. So tools like Solibri will be able to read this IDS file, and then you will be able to help you check. So this IDS file itself is so well defined that you need not define the checks that you want to perform inside your model checkers. So you just import this ideal file, you will and then just run against the model and it will give you the results. So here is a sample IDS file that I have. So you can see here there are two parts for any requirement. Say, for example, if there is a requirement for an IFC wall and it should have a property called fire rating. So we have two components here for this particular requirement. One is the applicability. So what are all the elements that should have this property? So that is what is applicability. So you have the IFC wall and it should be classified as a wall in the IFCSG classification, say, for example, right? And we also have the next one, which is the requirements. So for those elements that are defined in the applicability, it should have the following requirements, which is like it should have a property set pset wall common and should have a property called fire rating. And you can further go down and define what kind of values it should have and the range of values it should have. So all these definitions can be even more sophisticated, but this is just a very simple example that I'm showing here. You can make it even more complex as well. Okay, so coming back to the workflow, as you have the IDS file, so we need not worry about converting the MCR requirements into an IFC file. It will be already converted and then it will be available on the BCA website for you guys. So you just have to go and download this IDS file and then import it inside Archicad for complying to the requirements. Okay, so let's see how to import that. Okay. So here I'm showing a Python script, how to run that and then create your IDS file from the MCR requirements for public residential buildings. You can see it just immediately creates the IDS file for me. Okay, so once the IDS file is created, just go to File inside Archicad 28, Interoperability, IDS, and Import IDS file. And then select the IDS file that was downloaded for your case. And you can see here all the MCR requirements are defined here, along with the classifications that has been defined in the requirements. Okay, and you can see here we can also define the IFCSG property mapping using this IDS import. So meaning it will import the properties, classifications, and also the translator for you in one step. Okay, as you can see here under the classifications, the newly imported MCR classification is already there. So you can just go and classify the elements using this classification system. And we also have all the MCR properties imported inside the property manager. So all these properties will be available for the elements so that you can populate the values for those elements and then you can just export either to an IFC file or you can just submit with the native Archicad file format. And going to the property mapping for the IFC translators, you can see here as I select each IFC element type, you see the MCR properties automatically mapped, which will be exported for your case. So if you have values attached to these properties, it will be automatically exported. So you are not defining anything here, the requirements, as you just import the IDS file, your properties are imported, classifications are imported together with the translator for IFC export. Okay, so the next workflow is to populate the values into this MCR requirements. So you can create expressions to the property values that you can define inside the property manager. And then the next step, population method is via the spreadsheets or the Excel file format. Okay, let's see them how to do it. Right. So for creating properties, I'm just going to show the wall properties for this example today. So you can see here I have defined the thickness of a property with the expression thickness, which is a native parameter from Archicad. And also you can see here I've created a top level parameter to show the top level number and also the base level number. So these are some expressions that you can define inside Archicad itself, and then you can see it automatically populates the value inside the schedules. And for exporting the IFCs, exporting the spreadsheet, right? So you can create your own schedules inside Archicad, and then you can export that as an Excel file. So you can see there are some properties already defined using expressions, and some are undefined. So, okay, so to define these properties, you can just go and export the property values from schedule in an Excel file format. Okay. So once after you export, you can just populate the values inside Excel. So you can see here, I have exported all the wall parameters, and then I'm defining the fire rating parameter. Only the fire rating parameter I'm just entering. I'm leaving some of them intentionally undefined so that we can use it for checking. So you can see I've defined all of them as 1 hour. And then once after I save the Excel file, I can go back to Archicad, and then you can go to File, Interoperability, and then just import the Excel file that we just populated with the values. So you can see it has all the values that we have populated in, and some are still undefined, and I can just simply click import. Okay. So once I click import, it will just import all the parameters into the elements, and then it will all be available for the submission later. So all these are native Archicad tools. So you need not have any add-on or anything. So you just have to schedule, and you can decide what you want to schedule. You can decide just for this case, I'm just scheduling only the wall tools, and you can schedule just the parameters that you want to import and write, and you can do that as well. So once after your model is populated with all the data, the next step is to perform checking, right? Model checking for MCR requirements. Okay. So here we are proposing to use Solibri. The reason why we use Solibri here is like you need not define any checking requirements yourself. So this IDS file itself is supported by Solibri. You can just import it inside Solibri and then run against your model, and you can perform check. And if you have any issues, you can just bring it back inside Archicad, okay, to resolve it. Okay, let's see how it is done in this. So here I'm going to use Solibri direct connection with Archicad. So just open Solibri connection palette and then start Solibri from here. So once after Solibri has been started, we just have to export the model into Solibri with just one click from here. So just export the model to Solibri. So Solibri is a comprehensive model checking tool. So here we are using it for MCR model checking, but you can use it for checking any building information, or you can check for any authority submission requirements, geometry requirements, and so on. Okay, so here is the model inside Solibri. So here I'm going to create a rule set to check for the MCR requirements. So here is a rule that has the IDS validation. Okay, so just have to go and load that rule inside Solibri and go to the rule parameters and simply import the IDS file. So you need not do anything. You need not define the rule here. Just simply import the IDS file, and you can see whatever the requirements that you have inside the IDS file will be imported in, and then it will be available for you to check against your model. So this particular model that I have defined is only for the wall requirements, but though this IDS file has all the requirements, but inside the model I have just defined only for wall for the demo purpose today. So let's check, and it will give me the results for walls only, as I have defined only for walls. So you can see here, earlier I was leaving two of the parameters empty, right? So those two parameters should have value, but it is not having any value. So you can see here, it has been identified inside the results here. Okay, so the classification system property should have some value, but it is not having. So it shows that it is a required parameter, but it's not having any value there. And also the load bearing parameter as per the MCR requirements. So it is able to identify those elements that are not having the required properties. And as I told earlier, you can even define the range of values that you want to have. So if it is a higher rating, you should be within a certain range, then you can define that inside the IDS file as well. So Solibri will be able to check against those. So the next step is to create presentations inside Solibri using the check result that we have found. And you can see the issue has been created as a presentation. Now you can go back to Archicad and then just import these issues that we have found inside Solibri directly. Okay, so you can see here, it is inside the issue organizer within Archicad itself, and it has added all the walls that are having issues with that particular property, which is not defined. Okay, so this way we can find the issues for MCR requirements with Solibri with direct connection quite easily, and then we can resolve all those issues with just few clicks. Okay, so before I conclude, let me just reiterate the workflow. So you just have to go to the BCA website to download the IDS file with Archicad, which can be imported inside Archicad 28. But for lower versions of Archicad, we will still be uploading the properties and classifications together with the IFC translator, so that you can import that as well. But it is a few more steps to import all these requirements. But for checking, you can use the IDS file with Solibri. Okay, but from Archicad 28, we just need IDS file to import inside Archicad for the requirements. And then once it is there, then you convert it to the Solibri model and then perform the check and find out the issues. And if there are any issues, just export it back to Archicad using the BCF file format, which is all the buildingSMART standards that we have employed in this workflow. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, or if you want to implement this for any other typology for your projects, reach out to us. We will help you to create or develop the IDS file. There are, of course, other tools that are available commercially to develop the IDS file manually, but you need to key in each and every parameter inside those tools to create the IDS file. But the Python workflow that I showed earlier will automatically read the Excel file from BCA for the IDS for the MCR requirements, and then it will create the IDS file automatically, which can be used inside Archicad and Solibri as well. Okay, so let me give it back to Vanessa for Q&A.